I'm starting a new painting today. This is a flower on some stones, which I quite like the background here, the stones. So I'm going to paint the backgrounds first, paint all the stones up, and then I'm going to work up to the flower. So first of all, I'm going to start getting in with a bit of a base tone. Some of these stones, which I'm using a bit of liquid, but I kind of want to be a bit less liquid, so it's got a bit more body to it. So I'm painting in quite thick, and they're kind of a bluish sort of stone, which I quite like. So I'm going to end up with a kind of orange on blue almost, which should not necessarily contrast, but go well together in a sense, so that you've got a kind of, it'll pop out a little bit, which would be nice. So that's the intention anyway. So put that in here, a little bit of detail in the rock there. Some strange colorations and things like that. Sort of pebbles, but they're kind of smooth sort of pebbles you'd get on the beach, I guess. But quite nice. Quite like the way they look. And I'm going in kind of loose at the moment. I might tighten it up a little bit later on. But at the moment it's got to be quite loose. And then, see how we go later on. Maybe tighten it. Maybe tighten it up, maybe just leave it as it is. Background you don't want to be too much, because if you emphasize the background a bit too much, then it detracts too much from the foreground. So it's got to be good, but not too good. That sounds really arrogant. It's more a case of it's got to be good and kind of worked well, but not too much to detract from the foreground. It's kind of what I'm on about, if that makes sense. So I kind of know what I mean, but we'll see how we go as it progresses. So I'm just laying in, I'm using ultramarine and some black and some white as well. I'm going to paint around the canvas a little bit now, but I will touch this up later on, because I find that when I'm doing what's called a gallery wrap, I like to paint the painting and then I can always add in afterwards, and I'm quite happy to copy the colour in to the background and around the edge. That's never usually a problem for me. So we'll see how we go with that. Okay. Just adding a kind of a few shadows and interesting sort of etching on the stone as if it's been hit a few times, a bit weathered. Sort of, the sort of, I don't know, bit of rain, bit of rock on rock damage, that kind of stuff. So it'll all look pretty cool, I hope. So I'm being a bit kind of smoky with this, which at this moment is good, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over it again later on with a finer brush, probably the rigger that I used last time, just to kind of bring up some details on the rock itself. So these ones, this one and the one above the one I'm just doing now, are more in the background, so they are slightly darker than the foreground rock, because this one here sits on top of these two, if that makes sense. So that's the effect that I want to achieve with that, and this one here then sits on that one as well, and on top of this one, so hence this kind of shading here. So this one needs to be lighter again, so I get an idea of a bit of depth coming in. Now, the flower is very close to these rocks, so if I don't achieve that sense of depth, the whole piece will just look flat. And I think, well, I know that sometimes I'm kind of guilty of some pieces look a bit too flat because it's sort of resting on top of something. I need to emphasize the fact that this is just off, but not in your face, kind of fully off. Let's get a bit of shadow in here now. This is This is in spaces between the rocks now. And I'm quite happy to use black. I know a lot of artists shy away from pure black, but wow, heck. When you're doing rocks, dark grey, black, it's the best way of getting a shadow, realistically. Best way of getting a shadow. Okay, so putting in the shadow a little bit here, and then I'll paint out from here to the rock. Usually I have some music on, but if I do that, it'll pick it up on the video, and I gotta edit that out. I can't be bothered to do that. It's a bit lazy. So I'm fine here with the concentration on this piece anyway. Right. Seeing a bit of darkness in here as well. Paint now, as I said, is practically straight from the tube, and by that I mean I've not used much medium with this. I'm not using a great deal of liquid in here. I'm kind of just coming straight in. I'm using a very small amount, but I'm not relying on it too heavily. And I'm using the fat over lean principle with this one as well. So the further I go into the painting, I will be adding liquid. And if you don't, then that could end up in a bit of a disaster later on down the line, with a kind of cracking of layers and stuff like that. I haven't had that problem occur, but I don't know, maybe the pieces need to be lying around for like hundreds of years or something in order for that to happen. I don't know. I don't worry about it. It's not worth worrying about. Just, just paint and see how it goes. I mean, even if you're copying an actual rock that you're looking at, you still kind of want to make it your own in a sense, so adding some texture to this is going to make it really look rather good, which is the intention. It's got to be interesting. If it's not interesting, then you're not necessarily going to want to look at it. Sometimes rocks can look almost cloud-like in the way they have patterns and things in them. It's quite nice. Just a little bit of something going on here. More of a colour than anything. I quite like the blue. And it's become a bit grey here. Blue is here. This is a little bit duller. Let's get the blue back. And the blue will just pick up things nicely. As I get closer to the flower, I want much, much more blue. Because it's an orange-yellow flower, so I want that to sort of juxtapose and lift the orange up much more with the blue. So I'm just gently going in here, just getting a kind of feel for it. It's a little bit fuzzy, and Leonardo da Vinci would make all this fuzzy. That was his style. It would be sfumato, which was to be like smoke. Even though this is near to the flower, the grey will allow our eyes to rest as we get close to the flower, which is important. If our eye can't rest, then we will be overcome by colours, and that won't work in the end. That'll be too much. Okay, so next time we'll look at doing the rest of the rocks, and we'll start on the flower. Thanks for watching.